Hi everybody, my name's David and today I'm going to be showing you some videos on what you can do with the giant Fleurs florals kits. So I did a show not too long back and I did mention during the show that I would provide you with some educational videos in which you can follow these to create flowers in different ways in which you desire. But today I wanted to focus on the Fleurs giant poinsettia die. Now you can see on this one here, I've put it onto a magnetic sheet here, just so you can actually see what you're getting. And this one is still at the moment available on the Create and Craft website, so do check that out as well. And there is plenty other dies in which you can follow the tutorials I'm doing today with different die sets. So I want to try and get in two videos for you to show you two different ways you can use these. So I'm going to get straight into it and show you what we can actually create, okay? So for the first one, we're going to make a giant poinsettia, okay? So I've just got two pieces of card here in a circle, and I've actually cut these from my essential dies from Tattered Lace, okay? So I'm going to pop some wet glue here, and what I've done is actually cut one out of construction board, and then I've cut one out of a beautiful deep red cardstock, okay? So I've popped some wet glue on there, and I'm going to stick these two together, and whilst this is drying, it should take just under a minute or so to tack. I'm then going to start cutting one of my giant poinsettia leaves. So from the die set here, we've got plenty to choose from. We've got our stamens here, which we can curl up to make some beautiful little rosettes of stamens like this here on this beautiful gold cardstock, which looks absolutely stunning. Now these would be great in a bouquet or as small favours or buttonholes. So plenty that you can do with these that you get in this kit. But we're going to look here at the moment at this ginormous set of flowers. Now this one here you could take as a petal or a leaf on its own, so multiple different projects to use this with. But I'm going to work with the second largest one here, okay, so the one that steps down from the largest one. And the reason why I've done that is I've cut some petals already for you, and you'll start to actually see what this will transform into. So if I get my die plates here, with these dies that you get in this kit, I find you can cut up to around about 4 to 5 layers of 120 GSM cardstock. I'm using 250 here, so slightly heavier weight. So I'm going to cut just one of these, making sure that my die is the right way up, and I'm placing the cardstock straight over. I'm using my 5mm and my 3mm with my magnetic shim for this one. So I'm going to let that cut, and my disc that I did just set is starting to dry, so that's going to be nicely tacked together, okay? And this is going to form the base of our ginormous poinsettia. Now, if giant flowers is not for you, and maybe you're thinking, well, I don't really have anywhere to put one, think of birthdays, think of decorations, think of parties, think of everything in gifts, because at the same time as making giant florals, you can make giant foliage with this as well. So there's things to accompany flower walls, archways, decorations, so many different things you can do with it. So there's honestly tons of versatility. So what I've got here is I'm going to save my cardstock here because I might be using this later on in a different project. Pop my die plates to one side, and then I have this humongous petal here, and you can see this signature shape just follows what a poinsettia actually is. And what I'm actually going to do with this one is, this is something really cool that I saw not too long back and really wanted to try out, and I'm going to fold it in half. Okay, so it doesn't have to be exact, so we're not too precise with this. I'm going to get my bone folder, go straight over the top. So we've got a beautiful score line now down the centre. Now you could use a scoreboard to do that, but I've just gone rogue, done that freehand. And I'm going to flip it like this, and you can see there, because I now have half, I'm going to then rotate it and start to actually fold it zigzagged concertina on itself. Okay, so flipping it forward, going backwards, and every single time you do this, you may get ever so slightly different outcome, which is completely fine because, of course, flowers, every petal is different, every flower is different, no two are ever the same because they're natural, they're nature. So you could do this with a slightly lighter weight cardstock if you wish, maybe a tissue or a crepe paper, anything like that to create different dimension and texture. But this one I just thought looked so beautiful. And because I wanted to actually display this flower on a wall, with a thicker weight cardstock, it's going to hang nicely and keep its shape. But if you wanted one that's maybe going to be sort of floaty and floppy, you could use foam for it, something like that. So you can see here, my card has all been concertinaed in on itself. So as I open this up, we actually have our petal in this beautiful sort of zigzag shape, which just sort of imitates and really sort of embodies what the poinsettia leaves look like. So I've gone ahead and cut loads of these because I'm going to really have some fun here and put them all together. So what you want to do is take that disc that we started off with, okay, and I'm using my Kit and Caboodle cordless glue gun, because this is the easiest tool to use when assembling your giant fleurs, because it dries super quick and it will allow you to have a bit of wiggle room but also be able to move on to the next petal straight away. So that first one that we have just cut, I'm popping some glue, okay, straight onto the back of that petal. So where the score line is the vein of that leaf. So that's the back. I'm going to lay that flat, and what that does when we lay it flat, it gives you that sort of arch. If I tilt it to the side, so from the top there, you can sort of see, it gives you that curvature of the leaf, and that's going to start to give us the shape of our flower. So I'm going to go in with each different petal, and I'm going to sort of judge it as I'm going around how many petals I want to fit on this, okay? So I'm going to start with another one here. And then I've cut all of the larger ones. I think I've probably cut around 10 to 15 of these, but depending on how full you want your flowers, obviously cut as many as you wish. And I've not added any mediums to these at all, because I wanted you to see them sort of raw, if you like it, because this is going to be with no product on there. But think about adding your waxes, adding your paints and spritzers and sprays to all of these petals to give you some really interesting sort of shimmers and effects, because these sort of petals with a gold gilding wax brushed over the surface would look absolutely stunning. So do let me know in the comments as well if there's anything with the fleurs you would like to see in the future, or any other types of demonstrations that you would be wanting to give a go or want to see with the dies before you buy, because honestly they are so fun once you start crafting with them. So I'm working my way around here with these huge petals, adding hot glue again on the centre and on the two edges. So you can see there I've got my bead of glue in the centre and on the two edges to give me a nice even coat. Unfortunately, I've left myself just enough space there to then wedge in another one of these petals. Okay, so this is the sort of opportunity for you to really create fantasy flowers as well. So imagine doing this with so many different coloured cardstocks, things like that. So that's the base of our flower done. Okay, so if I hold this up to myself, you can just actually see the actual size of it, and it's absolutely massive, but it looks incredible. Like, that looks amazing already. So what I've got is, we've got more petals cut, we've got tons, and we've worked our way down. Okay, so on the die set, if I quickly show you it, here we are. So you can see on the die set, with the different size dies, I've then worked my way down through the nested shapes. And what the beauty of this is that you can create this flower in any size that you wish, because you've got your huge ones and your much smaller ones. You can create a variety of shapes with this, not just the scale I'm working on today. So I've gone down in a few sizes ever so slightly, and then I've moved on to this size shape. Okay, so it's got a slightly different shape to it, but it sort of embodies what we've just been putting down. So I've cut, I would say, around about 6 of these. So I'm taking my hot glue again to the base of the petal, and then what I'm going to do is work in between every single one. So you can see there where I've placed it, we've got the 2 large ones with the gap in the middle. So we're going to place that petal to then start to cover that gap, and we're going to work and sort of overlap every single gap that we have. Okay, and that's the easiest way, and I always say this, when you're constructing your flowers, one of the best things to do is go to the shops, the supermarket, wherever. It doesn't even matter if they're the ones that are reduced, they're sort of wilted and not got that long left. Buy some flowers and deconstruct them. And so if you buy yourself a bouquet of roses or a single rose, or some sunflowers maybe, especially with roses, as you peel the petals apart of a real flower, you'll sort of see how they curl up and how they're all sort of grown together. And it really helped me get a really good understanding of how the flowers are actually formed. And it really helped me to then recreate that with foam and cardstock. So I would definitely advise doing it. And the thing that gave me the inspiration to do that is I used to, when I was in college, I'd make a few clothes. And the way that we learnt was to go to the charity shops, buy the really inexpensive garments and pick them and de-stitch them all. And that way we then learn how to then put them back together in different shapes and colours. So with your flowers, definitely a good tip to do that. And it's an inexpensive way of learning how to do it. And then you've still got some flowers at the end of it. So you can see here, we've gone right round with that smaller one. So we've got a beautiful sort of star bursting out in the centre. And then our last one is our smallest one on the set. So if I bring that in over there, you can see this is the one that we've used, and you're getting a lot of metal for your money here. This is a really resilient die in the centre. So think of cutting your cardstocks and heavier weights and foams with this one tons to do with it, and it does actually have little pokey holes in there as well if you've used a thicker medium that you want to pop out. So I've gone ahead and cut, let's have a look, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 of those ones. So I'm going to make a simple shape in the centre. I'm going to curl up the bottom ever so slightly. So I'm just curling up that, hot glue on there. And again, I'm working in the angle which wasn't previously covered before. So I've gone in between the 2 of these ones, which is now fallen in the centre of the original big one. So I've got that sort of continuity running through with the petals. And then I'm going to go with this one here, curling them up ever so slightly to give me a nice little bit of shape in there. Okay, and then I'm going to work with my third one, which is going to be completely opposite in direction to the first one that we applied. And then my last petal here, curl up that end again, apply my glue. If you do get any glue strings from your hot glue gun, the beauty of that is if you've got a heat gun, blast it straight over and any of those little web strings just instantly disappear. It's an amazing effect. And then I showed you at the start, we did have the stamens made on that beautiful gold cardstock. So all I did was cut my stamens out from my gold and rolled them up with a quilling tool and then added them to some of my Fleurs wire. Now this could just sit in the centre. So I take some hot glue, pop it on the bottom. Here we are, and just give it a couple of seconds to dry. It won't be a second. There we go. So that's held it in place now. So if I tilt this to the side, you can see the sheer size of this flower and just what you can create with it, which I just think is phenomenal, because you can create one after the other with this. And think of making and selling, think of doing archways, how expensive it is to actually rent a flower wall for a birthday or a wedding or a baby shower. You could do this with these flowers. So don't just think poinsettia, think of all florals, because I think with a petal shape you can create so much. This could be a sunflower, so do this in your yellow cardstocks. Sunflower would look absolutely gorgeous. Do all of these in brown to give you that sort of really nested, tight, seeded centre. Tons to work with. But that's just one thing that I've done with this flower set. So I'm going to quickly show you another one, and I'll be really quick with this because I just want to show you what you can create with just those centerpieces we first used. Okay, so here I've taken this die from that centre that we spoke about earlier, okay, and I've cut it in red cardstock. And what I'm going to do is take some of my Fleurs wire, okay. So I've got my Fleurs wire there, and I've got some pliers because I want to cut this in half. So just snip that in half, okay? And then at the very start of the video, when I cut that first die, I had this card left over, didn't I? And what I'm going to do is cut into that card, because I always save the bits for the rest of my projects. I'm going to flip this die over, this petal over, some hot glue on the back. And then my Fleurs wire goes straight onto it like that, and the cardstock goes over the top. I'm going to pinch that down and just quickly let it set. Do excuse me. So I've let that set now. Take any glue strings off, and now you have your petal on your wire, okay? So you can then shape this with that small stem of wire that's in that petal, and you can mold it to any shape you wish. So if I get those stamens here, which are already attached, I've done it in that gold cardstock again, you can start to wind around. So if I get my bone folder, curl this petal, and then what I'm going to do is actually spin this round. Okay, and I'm going to attach all of these petals to the center core of this wire. Now what we're actually creating here is a small poinsettia plant itself. Now these are the ones that you see in the supermarkets, and I am one of those people that buys them every year, and then by end of January I've done something wrong and it's not looking too good. So this is a way you can create that and get it out every single year, or create one and give one to all of your friends and family who may be a little bit like me, that don't always know why the poinsettia has not decided to continue with us. But this way you've got a flower that will last forever, because it's made out of paper and cardstock, and you can store this in the loft, get it out every year, and they look absolutely beautiful. And all I've done is inked the edges of these petals. So I've cut them in green with the same size one. All I'm doing here is twisting this wire around and around this stem. Okay, so we're building up like a stalk in the middle. I've got another one here, and you can see I've started off with the red. Let's have a look. I'm going to pop another one here. And do you know, the one thing I didn't realise about poinsettias was that the actual flower is that bit in the centre. These red bits are actually leaves as well as the green, which is just amazing because I always assumed that the red was just the flower, but apparently it's the centre. So, little interesting fact there. But I'm going to keep binding around these green ones here. And this is so simple, it's so quick to do, but yet so effective. So I'm going to make some of the green ones here ever so slightly longer, so I do have some poking out, so I'm leaving a little bit of extra wire before it gets to the stem. So I'm going to keep curling this around the centre, and then as soon as they're all attached, you can sort of start to shape them a little bit more, because then you know that you can, wherever they're going to catch the light or be displayed in your home, you can make them look the best. So I'm going to keep curling this around. This is the last one I'm going to pop on here for you to see. And I do have a plant pot, and I've got some foam inside it. Now you could use polystyrene, you could use styrofoam, you could use expanding foam, anything like that. But this one here will allow me to pop these stems into here. So I've got one I created earlier and the one I've just made. I'm going to curl that one up a little bit more actually. There we go, gives it a bit more shape. So I'm going to pop this one straight into here, like that. And then I've got another one. I'm going to pop in here from an angle there. So you can see here, that's how we've created a poinsettia plant with our dies. Now if I wanted to, I could go in and keep adding more and more and more, but it's entirely up to you in which way you want to create these. But this just gives you a look and an insight into how you can create a beautiful sort of centerpiece, if you like, for Christmas in your home or for any season of the year, because of course you can have them out whenever, it's just we always tend to get them out at Christmas. But this is a beautiful way that you can work with your flowers. But just to show you again, that first giant floral that we made, which is huge, with just one die set, is amazing because there's tons to see in here. And just shaping those leaves, which was really easy to do, all we did is fold them back on themselves and then open them up with that concertina effect. It's sort of like a fan, but they just really catch the light. And then imagine rubbing gold waxes over this. Any type of mediums that you've got in your stash will go hand in hand with these kits. So I really do hope that this video has helped you, because I've really enjoyed doing it as well. And if there's anything else you'd like to see, please let me know, because I absolutely love providing these videos for you, and it's an absolute joy and a dream to do. So thank you ever so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.